it's Reija and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be doing my February reading wrap-up, and I have to say that this year hasn't really gotten to a really good start. I was hoping that I'd start with a bang, and instead I've started with a low mournful whimper, but I'm glad to say that my March reading at least is going very well at the moment. So let's talk books I read in February. I had a really ambitious Cozy-a-thon TBR, which I completely and utterly failed. I am going to be reading all those books eventually, hoping to get to them this year. But in February I only managed to read 2 books. 2.5 books if I'm being really generous. So let's talk about those. First up, I want to talk about The Nightingale by Kristin. This was the BookTube Discord server pick for February, and I want to talk about this first because I DNF'd it. I did not finish this book. I read about 30%. I read 120 pages, like you can see, and then I stopped because this book was doing nothing for me. It's set in occupied France during World War II, and it's a story about these 2 sisters who have a really tough history between them. Their relationship is very strained, and one is a kind of wild soul, and the other, the older sister, is kind of shy and introspective. And this book is about their methods of coping and surviving in occupied France. And first of all, I'm not usually drawn to this kind of story in the first place. Like, I've had to consume a lot of media concerning World War II, because when I was growing up, that was pretty much all our family ever wanted to watch. It was World War II and World War I documentaries and movies about the wars. So I've kind of grown out of that kind of story already. And then the characters didn't do anything for me. I practically hated the both of them, and I actually I didn't like either of the sisters, but I was really appalled by the fact that the narrator seems to want to push you to like the younger sister more, and she's kind of pushing you to almost resent the older sister for choosing different, more subservient ways of coping. And I'm like, I just didn't like this. So I DNF'd it. And then I read Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzi Lee. This was part of my Cozy-a-thon reading, and I struggled. I struggled so bad with this book. I disliked Monty immensely. There were aspects of his character that I really liked. I liked the exploration of self-medication, PTSD, and how sometimes people cope in very toxic ways when dealing with trauma. I liked those aspects of his character. What I didn't like was that he was constantly putting his friends and sister in danger by making really stupid ass decisions. And I also didn't buy the love story between him and Percy. It was just like, the power dynamics of that relationship felt really off to me. Like, I was constantly wondering why these people are even friends. How does this relationship work? In terms that Monty is an aristocrat, an heir to a noble family, and Percy is a class below him, and not only that, he is mixed race. So I'm wondering how this relationship could have even gotten started, especially considering that Monty's parents obviously don't want him to associate with the so-called lower classes, and that alone makes me wonder how these two people could have been around each other enough to become close friends. And even after that, say that I believe that they are close friends, the whole dynamic between their relationship and love story feels really forced to me, and I most of the time I felt so sorry for Percy, and I was like, please run away, take a boat somewhere far away and get as far away as you can from this person because he's not good for you. Like, I didn't want that love story to succeed, and that is a really huge red flag to me in a story that's main selling point is the romance. So yeah, I was not impressed. And I liked Percy, I liked Felicity, but I was kind of keeping them at arm's length. There wasn't that much exploration to their characters. They didn't really do much. They were kind of just there to make sure that Monty didn't get himself killed or something. And for me, that just wasn't an engaging story. But the book was, I think, very well written. I thought it was well researched, the history aspects of it, I mean, and I gave it 3 stars for that, even though it wasn't a very enjoyable read for me personally. And the last thing I managed to read, book-wise, during February was The Black Tides of Heaven by J.I. Young. And I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. It was really engaging. I liked the exploration of gender. I noticed that since the story starts with both of the main characters being non-binary and their genders are not explicitly revealed until later in the novel, and in a very beautiful context as well. But I noticed that as a reader, not knowing the gender did not take away from my reading experience, and I feel that it in fact enhanced it, because it allowed me to get a lot closer to the actual characters and see things in the characters that I probably normally wouldn't have thought to look for, because I would have been assigning them certain attributes based on their gender. And I thought that it was a really interesting way for Young to explore that dynamic and explore the depths of those characters and make you feel close to them, even if you did not know a so-called essential part of them, so to speak. I really liked that. And I like the world building. The magic system in this novella reminded me a lot of the skill in Robin Hobb's Farseer trilogy, of which I've read the first book, and I thought that it was really spectacular, and yeah, I just really liked it. I will say that the pacing was kind of breaknecky. It is a novella and it spans a story of 35 years, so it feels really fast, and sometimes it feels a bit thin too, because you're getting all this information, but it's kind of like vignettes instead of a full cohesive picture. It kind of made me want to have a full-length novel in my hands, because I would have wished some more exploration of these events that were happening. But I gave it 4 stars, I really liked it, and I'm currently reading the next one, which is The Red Threads of Fortune. And I buddy read this with Joules from Page by Page, and we both really enjoyed it, and I had a lot of fun discussing this book with her. So yeah, those were all the books that I read during February, and I hope you liked this video. If you did, please consider giving it a thumbs up. And I will see you in my next video, which will be all the comics that I read in February. I'll see you later. Bye bye!